right.
Just Transit Man is my superhero.
Welcome, everyone. It is Thursday, April 25th, 2024. It is 5:31 p.m., and this meeting is now called to order. I always forget the gavel. Okay. Will the clerk of the board note attendance for a quorum? Okay, and I do want to note that Director Davidson and Director Carney are online. And I'll pass that over to General Manager Pollock for our safety moment.
Great, thank you. So April is Distracted Driving Month, and I have a few safety awareness reminders in support of that. So since April is dedicated to distracted driver safety, and it's crucial to refresh our awareness of the dangers of distracted driving, I have a few tips for us. First, put your phone away when you're driving. I'm not going to add anything to that other than just do it. Plan ahead, set your GPS and adjust mirrors and seat positions before you start driving to minimize the need for adjustments on the road. Take breaks. Fatigue can be just as dangerous as distractions. Take regular breaks on long journeys to stay alert and focused. Limit multitasking. Eating, grooming, or adjusting the radio can all divert your attention from the road. Be mindful of passengers. Engaging in deep conversations or dealing with rowdy passengers can distract you from driving. By staying vigilant and committed to minimizing distractions, we can all contribute to a safer road. And if you do feel the need to look on your phone, multitask, take the bus, let someone else drive, and you can be distracted all you want. That concludes my safety message.
Thank you very much. Okay. So now on to announcements and changes to the agenda. I do believe that we have an announcement to make this evening.
Yes, I'll turn it over to David Trimble, our Deputy General Manager, for the announcement.
So thank you, General Manager Pollock, President Dino, host Presti, and members of the board. I do want to introduce our newest member of the executive leadership team, our new Chief Information Officer, Art Boulanger. As CIO, Art will be guiding the IT and Infrastructure Division into the future and implement enhanced technology solutions for the district. His first day was Monday. So Art brings about 20 years of experience in IT leadership and team building, most recently serving as IT manager for the Texas Board of Nursing, along with several other leadership roles during his career. So we are extremely overjoyed to have Art here rounding out the executive leadership team. So allow me to present Art to you. So Art, would you like to say a few words?
I just want to thank everyone for inviting me to join with the Cherriots team, and also acknowledge the fact that I've been working with David all week to pronounce my last name correctly. So.
Well, I'm glad that that effort has been made. It'll probably take us a few tries, but I definitely understand your plight. So, okay, all right. So next, we would normally have presentations, but oh my goodness, we don't have any.
None this month.
Wow. Okay, so that moves us right into public comment. And we do have two members of the public here present. We'll start off with James Alderson. If you could please come up. Is the mic hot? Okay, yeah, so the mic is already on. You don't have to worry about pressing the button.
Okay. Hi, I'm James Alderson. I've been running the buses over 35 years. 2 Sundays ago, I got off South Commercial around about 4:15 to go to number 5. And this woman carrying a backpack about the size of your trash cans told me very quietly she'd got 7 pounds of explosives in her backpack. So I alerted security about that, and they go, oh, just her attitude. She does it all the time. It's not a security issue. And I'm like, excuse me, sir. She just told me she has 7 pounds of explosives in her backpack. That's not a security issue? How is that not a security issue?
Thank you for your comments, and I think we'll have our general manager follow up
Yes, I talked with James earlier. We'll follow up on his concern.
So I'm kind of concerned about this lack of security because I remember, years ago, you guys had a tie-in with the Salem Police Department. Now it's like, I don't know, it's like, potentially a security issue. They're not trained in a security manner like that. And it's like, well, what do you do? Oh, you just tell the customer, oh, do you like that all the time? I mean, 2 years ago, I rode the bus, and there was a guy who told me that he was going to explode a school. But they got on video and got the guy, but it's getting worse. And I'm very concerned that, I got to take the bus. I have no choice.
Yeah, we definitely hear your security concerns, and we'll have.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, James.
Thank you, and that brings us to Beth Schmidt.
It's gonna make me sit really low.
Oh,
Good evening, my name is Beth Schmidt. I'm the Salem Kaiser Safe Routes to School Program Coordinator.
I think you might want to adjust the microphone down a little
Every
bit.
time I speak, this happens to me.
I mean, or
I
we
just
could
think
have
it's
someone help you
better.
with the chair.
Is that better? Okay, my name is Beth Schmidt. I'm the Salem Kaiser Safe Routes to School Program Coordinator. It's okay. I am here to talk about our partnership with Cherriots and a wonderful opportunity that we've taken part in called a mobile classroom. Alan Pollock has been very generous and kind to, what's the word, just entertain my ideas. A mobile classroom was something I saw that somebody else was doing with Safe Routes to School, where they took out these students and they took them essentially in the bus as a classroom, and they drove them around and showed them how to take the bus. And so my idea kind of generated from that. And I work closely with Lisa Carignan just to sort of decide the ages we wanted to engage. And we decided 4th and 5th graders would be the best spot for us to help teach them how to take the bus, since they would be going to middle school probably next year, and that'd be the best place. So we went to Cummings Elementary in March, and 4th and 5th graders got to learn just how you use the bus and the etiquette of the bus and how to put that bike on and off the bus. And I forgot the gentleman's name who was so kind to help put the bike on and off the rack over and over again. But most children didn't know. They had never taken the bus before. So this opportunity for them was to even see the bus, get on the bus, sit on the bus, learn how to pull the cord, how much did it cost, everything that was important. And she also had wonderful etiquette, like, do you talk about your allowance? Would you talk about that in front of other people? She just gave them really great tools so that they knew how to take the bus and how to be safe. So the children were really interested in it. They all thought it cost $67 to ride the bus, which we told them it's free. They really had no idea. Right? If they had no exposure to it, then they would have no idea. So it was a really fun opportunity. They all had a great time. And we're going to do it again at Washington Elementary here next month. And again, those will be 5th graders. Those 5th graders will go to Waldo Middle School in the fall. And so you have a great partnership, and I appreciate your commitment to Safe Routes to School. And we really look forward to taking public transit and teaching our students how to sort of get about their world independently and not be dependent upon a car. Many students don't have a car. They walk or ride their bike, or however they walk and roll to school. But the bus, being that it's free for Salem Kaiser Public Schools, it's a great opportunity to give them a chance while they're in school to learn the skills and how to be multimodal. So we're just really happy and proud of the partnership with you, and want to say thank you. And we look forward to many, many more opportunities with Cherriots.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, the work that has been getting done with this program is just amazing, and I hope that we'll be able to give a little bit more in-depth brief at some point later on, but thank you again. Okay, so I do believe that concludes our public comment portion, and that moves us into our consent calendar. Does any board member wish to pull an item from the consent calendar? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Did I get your vote? Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. All right, so that moves on unanimously. And that moves us into our action items. Man, it's 5:41 and we're already so far down the agenda. It just makes me feel so productive. So General Manager Pollock, will you present the next item?
Yes, I'd ask Ben Sawyer, our Contracted Services Manager, please come forward and present the report.
Yeah, that chair is tripping everybody up today.
Right. I have bad luck with chairs in this room. Good evening, Madam President, General Manager Pollock, members of the board. I'm Ben Sawyer. I'm the Contracted Services Manager here at Cherriots. At issue tonight, and we're looking for authorization for the General Manager to enter into a 5-year contract with 2 one-year options with MTM Transit for delivery of our ADA paratransit eligibility assessment services. And that was a project budget of $1,214,650. The Americans with Disabilities Act actually requires all public transit agencies that provide fixed route service to also provide the complimentary ADA paratransit service, what we call the LIFT. And our LIFT services have a set of rules for eligibility for the people who are going to ride those. That service has been provided to us by a contractor for quite some time. MTM currently has that contract with us. We did put out an RFP. We got one response to it from MTM, once again. Apparently all the other contractors thought that we were going to stay with MTM anyway, so they weren't going to bother to try to compete for that work. So the response actually has been gone through, and it is everything that we need to continue our services. There is a yearly cost of about $833,000. And we have a little table in the package for everyone to take a look at, cruising right through all of this. And we are recommending that we authorize the general manager to enter into that 5-year contract with 2 option years for paratransit eligibility services.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Yes, Director Lard Midkiff.
Am I? I'm not
Yes,
on.
you're on.
Am I?
Yes.
Ooh, been here since October, folks. I can't even. Thank you, Manager Sawyer, very much. And forgive me, General Manager Pollock, I didn't give you questions in advance. But I'm going to vote yes to approve this. But I have a couple questions.
Sure, thank you.
In the summary, in the background and findings, rather, you speak to eligibility, and you say that there's a formal interview process and functional assessments that are performed. And I
Yes.
appreciate I didn't ask in advance, so if you don't have the answer to this, this is fine. But could you describe what those look like in practice?
So we have a 2-part process that we use. The first part is from the person requesting the services or an agent on their behalf that can fill that out for us, that basically tells us what your needs are. And then there's a medical portion that a doctor would fill out. It is a requirement at Cherriots that you fill out both parts, although we can waive part 2 if there's no questions that our assessment individual has. So if you have a disability of some sort, you have to explain what that is and why you can't use the service, and potentially have a doctor back that up to say that that is a legitimate issue that you have, so we confirm those things. And then compare that to the ADA and what the services that we have are and determine what type of eligibility you would need. All right, we do have multiple types of eligibility. You can be unconditionally eligible or you can be conditionally eligible. All right, there are about a third of we have 7,100 currently eligible passengers on the Lyft service. Of those, about a third are conditionally eligible, meaning they can only ride at certain times. You know, if it's dark outside, they can ride Lyft. If it's light, they can't. Depends on what your needs are. So it's very individualized and really gets down into the weeds with what you need to make sure that we can serve that need without adding to it and creating a dependency that you don't have.
Thank you. So just to clarify, the interview process and the assessment process is simply medical documentation supporting the need.
So you fill out the application, and then our evaluator actually goes through all of that. And it starts with an in-person interview. So we invite the person to come down to the transit center here. They come in, and it's a nice, about an hour-long conversation about what they need and what their abilities are. And then we use the medical to back that up.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think I'll give you insight into why I'm asking the question.
Sure.
It's been a while since I've read the ADA,
Oh.
but I have read it. And what I remember is that there are 3 categories for eligibility for paratransit.
Yes.
And what I'm sensitive to is, as someone who has disabilities, in and of itself this isn't burdensome, but I'm conscious of kind of the regular and routine scrutiny, the needing to divulge, needing to meet, to have an hour of your time when maybe I just did that with the DMV to get, I brought props, to get one of these.
Yes.
Okay. And maybe even half a year ago now, when I first started, I brought up, because I serve on the ODC, the Oregon Disabilities Commission, and I brought up in comments an appetite on the part of the ODC to partner with DMV to find local solutions to help streamline processes like the ones that we're entertaining tonight. And I guess I would repeat my call to see if there's an appetite on the part of the district to find ways to streamline these sorts of processes. I know, reduced fare is different from paratransit eligibility. These are all different processes. To find a way where, maybe if I've already gone through a scrutinized process, DMV takes us to the ringer sometimes, that maybe is enough. That if I came and I said, this is my medical documentation, or I've already been vetted by a public agency, for example, with the DMV, do I need to go through this again? So then the conversation begins at access as opposed to scrutiny and justification of my medical needs and or my disability. Therefore, kind of bypassing disclosure issues. I don't know literally how that squares with liability or legal concerns, or legal requirements on the part of the district, but I think it maybe exploring. Well, yeah. What are your reactions to that?
I appreciate what you're saying, and I agree with you completely. We are not here to create barriers. We want to make sure that people get the service that they need. And we are very fortunate here to have a very experienced ADA coordinator who knows and understands the rules and knows how to ask the right questions to make sure that we get you the service as quickly as we possibly can without any additional work that you don't need. We've done a lot of work recently looking at how we're doing recertifications, right? Because you're required to recertify every 2 years, making sure that we actually do go through and, if you don't need a medical exam because nothing's changed on your application, right? Are we requiring somebody to do something that's burdensome for them that isn't going to give us any information that we don't already have, right? So if nothing's changed, then we can waive that and step past it without any recourse from the ADA. That's perfectly fine on their side. And it makes it easier for the passenger to make sure that they get to keep riding. Right? And we're constantly looking at those programs and trying to make sure that we're not making it any more difficult than we absolutely have to. But we do have to do something, so we want to make sure that we're following all of those rules and getting the right people the services that they need.
Yeah, thank you. And I wouldn't suggest not doing anything.
Yeah.
I know there has to be a process. I would just state that I think continuing to find the ways to make it as minimally medically invasive as possible.
We want to make it as easy as possible for the passengers, yes. I agree with you completely.
And, so recognizing these efforts, help with access and facilitate ridership and likely don't contribute to fraud in any way, anything like that. So
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
General Manager
Yeah,
Pollock?
if I could just add one thing, so I just want to be clear, so it's, some of the assessment is, I guess, to make sure that the right people qualify for the service, but sometimes, especially if it's a new person who just thinks, oh, I need help, I need the paratransit, but when you do that interview, the functional interview, you may find out, well, maybe it's a conditional, so to use your example, that maybe they have trouble in the night, so they can use Lyft at night, but during the day, they may be able to use the bus, and they didn't even know they could. And actually, the bus gives them more freedom and flexibility, so we can teach them how to ride the bus. So it's kind of taking each person's unique needs. So it's not just scrutiny, it's also how can we provide the right services for the right kind of trips.
Yeah.
too.
And I appreciate that, and I think what I'm speaking to, I'm very much in favor for the assessment. I think that's a way to tailor a service, and I think that's actually a good thing. It makes it more accessible as opposed to the opposite. I'm talking particularly around medical documentation, maybe ways to streamline that process so as not to subject new riders to potentially tiresome, because we go through this all the time. Like, every new thing is justify yourself to me, and medically. And so I think mitigating that as much as possible while maximizing the
Understood.
tailored experience. Yeah. But thank you.
And to General Manager Pollock's point, we have a very good travel trainer that actually works hand in hand with our ADA coordinator to make sure that people have the opportunity to learn how the entire system works, right? So they can best utilize it for them, right, based on what their needs are. And we have a lot of passengers who use all parts of the system. You know, when they need it, they have Lyft. If they don't need it, they have more flexibility using the local service. And we want people to have that flexibility.
Thank you. Director Davidson?
Thank you, President Hinojosa Pressy. I do have a couple questions, but because of Director Lauder Mitgift's comments or questions, I maybe do have a follow-up, which is, it's my understanding that if you're visiting, for example, from out of town, that you can get a temporary permission to use Cherriots Lyft.
Yes, sir.
If you already have, TriNet Lyft
Yes.
or whatever they call it.
If you have eligibility at any location, we give you automatic temporary eligibility here.
And how is that verified? Is it like what Director Lara McGiff said, he showed it something?
For a lot of people, it's very difficult to show something because, like Cherriots, does not give anything to a passenger that says that they're Lyft eligible. They just are within our system. Our eligibility coordinator has the ability to easily call other agencies and say, hey, real quick, is this somebody who is eligible there? They're getting temporary eligibility here. So we do have communication back and forth. And if there's any question, we would assume that they had eligibility and provide it for them. And so if there's any difficulty on our part verifying anything, then we would just make the assumption that they were eligible.
Got it. That's helpful, thank you. I'll maybe pivot to a comment before I ask my questions. I would be supportive of any kind of legislative advocacy that Cherriots could do on behalf of allowing for greater communication between different government entities that are doing duplicative requirements around medical documentation. I know the Department of Motor Vehicles is keen on accessing data that the agency that I'm employed by, the Criminal Justice Commission, has. And so there may be an opportunity for additional communication between, for example, DMV and the state's transit districts to perhaps reduce some of this, the onerous, maybe not onerous, how about tedious requirements placed upon our riders. So that's just something I would want to flag. I know the state of Oregon has done a lot of efforts recently to increase communication amongst agencies. The One Oregon is an example of a motor voter where by going to the DMV, you're now a registered voter. So I think there's a lot of precedent for Oregon being supportive of this kind of thing. But my question actually is more nuts and bolts, which is for in your memo, if I'm doing the math right, the annual cost, at least initially, is probably $166,000 per year I assume that we have looked into this, whether or not we can do this in-house for cheaper, and we've determined that we can't.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. And then my last question is, can you speak more to us only getting one response to the RFP? I'm a little concerned by that. And I'd love to hear maybe what are some lessons learned, or, you know, any additional context.
I think a lot of that, and thank you for the question. There are several major contractors who do this kind of work that kind of have the country divided into sections almost. MTM is a company that's pushing really hard in the Central Valley for more business. Right now, we have TransDev to the north of us at TriMet. They do the functional assessments at TriMet right now as well. It's part of their contract. MTM used to do it for them, but that changed when they changed their last contract go around. I talked to people that I know at TransDev who told me that they felt that it would be a waste of their efforts to put in a bid for this work when they know that MTM is better at it than they are anyway, and that there was little chance of their actually receiving a positive effect from it. That's a personal thing with that conversation. But the RFP went out and everyone had the opportunity to bid on it. You know, so what other companies, why they chose not to, I don't really know.
Do you agree with TransDev's assessment? Like, was the RFP structured in such a way where it wasn't worth their time?
No, actually, I'm the exact opposite of opinion. I would have loved to have seen something from them, and our RFP asked for suggestions as well. They had the opportunity in it to basically make up anything they wanted to and add that to the scope of work. It's kind of up to them to say what they could do, and if they had some ideas that we were missing, that they should bring those up. And we got no ideas at all, other than exactly what we're doing right now, which was a little bit disappointing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have enough information, but it sounds as if there's either an anti-competitive streak in the industry right now, or there's not enough people to go around. I mean, I'm a little baffled because I would think that they'd be anxious to get more business.
That's been my experience, is everyone is anxious to get more business, and that they would much rather put a bid in and lose it than, if anything else, it gets you in front of the client and lets people know who you are. Right? Even if you don't get the work, you got a chance to talk to people, and the more you know, the easier it is to get the work later on.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions, Manager Sawyer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, we've got hands quickly. Director Navarro.
Thank you, President Hinojosa-Pressy. I wanted to kind of expand on the assessment question that Director Laramidkiv had earlier. So when we're doing these assessments, is MTM providing somebody that is bilingual in all of these applications in Spanish?
Yes, we have translation services available to us in any language.
Okay. And then when we are, because I know a bunch of people that could qualify for the service that are monolingual Spanish speakers, that I don't think they know about the service, they know that they would qualify. So whose responsibility is it in this contract to be able to do the outreach for this? Is this an MTM thing, or is this a Cherriots thing?
It would be a Cherriots thing to do any kind of outreach. The contract doesn't have any specifications for specific outreach, although they are available to assist me when I do that kind of thing. And currently, we really don't do a lot of outreach on the LIFT program.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Director Carney.
Thank you, President Hinojosa-Pressy. And sorry for my late arrival. I was listening in the car to Alan's safety moment about phones in the car. Just a question, I'm familiar with the Lyft buses, but I'm not sure I'm familiar with the full complement of services. I don't know if I also see a lot of medical transport vehicles on the road. Is that part of the full complement of services, or is it just limited to the shorter buses?
No, it's just the shorter buses that are directly for ADA complimentary service. At one point, Cherriots did do non-emergency medical transportation as well. They stopped doing that 4 years ago, 5 years?
It's been quite some time.
Quite some time
When
ago.
the CCO's model was formed, that's when we transitioned over.
Prior to my being here, they stopped doing
And
it.
just so we're clear, we did the brokerage of trips, we did not provide the trips. It was those vans are all independent contractors. We just brokered the client and the provider.
Thank you for that. And is this a model that is applied, by TransDash and elsewhere consistently throughout the country? Or are there other models for providing paratransit where they might include like different size vehicles or different types of?
I'm going to assume that just about anything is possible in other areas, although the ADA is pretty consistent for what the minimums are. There is no limit on maximum. So if an agency came up with some great new way to service customers, there's definitely nothing saying that we can't, as long as it's equally accessible. So we definitely have some rules under the ADA that are specific, saying that if we provide something to the general public, we have to make sure that there is a complement of that for people that have disabilities, and that we accommodate those somehow, which is what we do with the LIFT program now.
Thank you. And then my last question is, I know that a significant number of our houseless population is also a group that is experiencing some level of disability. And I was just wondering if we have any special considerations around serving that population.
That's an excellent question, and one that I'm not sure that I'm qualified to answer right this second. I don't know that we've done anything in particular for the houseless population here in Salem.
I guess I would answer, so they're certainly entitled to rider services. We do work with a lot of nonprofits and government agencies who work on behalf of them, and if they work with them to get them qualified for it, they would certainly do it. Probably the biggest barrier for them is being able to make appointments. But yeah, it's, if they can submit the application and get approved, then they're certainly entitled to ride the service.
And I mean, I think it's maybe related, but does our call center save a point location per rider that would be associated with a specific address?
Our computer system allows us to track any address that you've ever used before, so that if a customer calls in and that's their normal home and they say, hey, I'm at home, we can say, is this your home address, without them saying it again. But it's not necessary. I mean, we have to know a point to pick you up. So if someone had the ability to call in and say, I want to be picked up at this location, great. That's perfectly acceptable. It doesn't have to necessarily be something that you're associated with all the time. It's very flexible in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Well, first I'll go to Director Holmstrom.
Yeah, thank you very much. Not really a question, but I had the opportunity last week at the Community Advisory Committee to listen to the gentleman who works for the contractor currently doing this work. I thought, a good presentation. He's busy, right? Yeah. He's got a lot of stuff going on. I was surprised by just kind of the level of the number of folks and applications coming at him every year, and kind of just the differences and the different kinds of things and he tailors for each of those people. I was pleasantly surprised by that, and reinforced today, of course. But of course, I'll continue to. I'll support my colleagues here, and I'm always interested in making sure we're reducing administrative burden for folks to access services. I know the district is as well, so we continue to work on that. I agree with that, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Director Laura Midkiff.
Yeah, thank you. A response to Director Carney, 2/3 is the figure. 2/3. And then Director Navarro, I wanted to clarify something that he mentioned today. The services provided by the contract is one thing, but one thing I think I want to clarify is our paratransit service at large. How is that advertised as opposed to the services? Is that, I'm assuming that's also in Spanish. So that to me is
Yes.
where that's where that starts, right? And then you mentioned, we can call anybody and they have a language available, but just to clarify, there is not a Spanish speaker required in this contract. Someone doing the intakes.
This contract does not have a Spanish-speaking requirement to it. Our contractor, with MTM, they have multiple Spanish speakers in the call center that are native speakers, so they very easily answer the phone for those once they're eligible. But Tony uses a interpreter if somebody has a different language that they need.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify based on the previous question.
Okay. Any final comments or questions? No? Okay. I thank you for your time and the presentation. I don't have a question around the contract. I do have a question around if you brought someone special to join you here this evening.
Oh, my son came with me today for Bring Your Child to Work Day. So we've been running around Cherriots all day. I'm very excited that today was a board meeting day because he gets to see government in action as well, which I think this is the coolest thing in the world, that all of you volunteer to come in here and spend your time and energy making this a better place. So it's pretty neat to get to see that in real life. Unfortunately, I don't think many of our kids get to. So we were very fortunate to have this all happen at the same time.
Yeah, I did mention earlier to our clerk of the board, I was like, man, Bring Your Kid to Work Day and a board meeting? We really need to work on our scheduling. But I mean, with that point of view, I really appreciate it.
Super neat for us because, I know everyone that works at Cherriots really appreciates all the work that you do. It's really amazing to get to see it happen. So it's a great honor for us to get to come here and present to you.
Thank you. Huh?
I mean, we're not the coolest thing in the world, but a board picture?
I think, maybe later, if they're still around, we could do a board picture.
I think you're cool.
Okay, so now do we have a motion on this action item? Director Laura Midkiff.
Excuse me. I move that the board authorize the general manager to enter into a 5-year base contract with 2 option years with MTM Transit LLC for delivery of ADA paratransit eligibility assessment services and approve a contract amount of $1,214,416.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All right. Any discussion on the motion? No. Okay. Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Well, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much. Okay. So that brings us to our next action item. General Manager Pollock.
Yes, thank you. So the item before you tonight has a request from the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. The chair of that council is convening an advisory board to continue conversations that the region's been having about exploring the possibility of implementing regional rail that connects the Mid-Valley and the Portland metro area. It's really a continuation of the 2 years' worth of regional conversations about the importance of additional modes of transportation in the Mid-Willamette Valley. This advisory board will include representatives from the Portland metro area and the Mid-Valley. There'll be other groups answering technical and ridership questions. This board will be tasked with answering questions dealing with governance, rail ownership, operations funding, and capital funding to inform legislative recommendations leading into the 2025 legislative session. The COG has invited the district to provide a member of the advisory board. So the recommendation is that the board president appoint a member of the board to represent the district on the advisory board.
Wonderful. Do we have any questions from the board around this? No? Okay. Well, I would like to make the motion to appoint Director Holmstrom to represent the district on the Willamette Valley Regional Rail Advisory Board.
You don't even need me,
Second.
you just make it.
Well,
There's no need for,
we have a motion and a second either way. We're just covering all our bases. And since, you know, we can, like I said, we're covering all our bases. So any discussion on the matter? Yes, Director Duncan.
This is awesome. I'm very excited to hear this come to fruition. I know that there's quite a few people in this room who have worked really hard to make us talk about this and just begin having discussions around it. There's a lot of heavy history around this, and getting the conversation started, I think, is a great place to be. So anytime you need any help, or if you ever want any assistance, we are, I mean, I don't know if I speak for everyone, but at least I am here to help you. I think this is fantastic. Thank you so much. And I'm just stoked, and I wanted to say something that I was very excited about it. That's all.
I think we definitely share your enthusiasm. Director Carney, did you want to say something?
I was just curious if a member of the Portland metro area had also been invited to serve, as it's being run by the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. But I don't.
they have been invited.
Okay.
No.
It'd be great. I look forward to hearing some reporting out, Director Holmstrom, and supporting you in whatever way we can.
Director Davidson, did you have a comment or anything?
I was just going to say that Metro is going to be participating.
Awesome. Any other comments or discussion, questions? Director Holmstrom?
Thank you, President, for your appointment. And I look forward to working with the board on this matter. Thank you.
Yeah. It makes me excited about like the breadth of knowledge that everybody brings. And I'm really excited that we have someone that has some experience with this and can help us out. And so I'm really excited to see this work moving forward, and also look forward to hearing your updates. Okay, well, since technically I didn't have to make a motion, but we did second it, discussed it, I guess just for formalities purposes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, oh, that was a really enthusiastic aye. Where was that energy earlier?
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. So that concludes our action items for this evening, and this brings us to informational reports. General Manager Pollock.
Great. So the American Public Transportation Association held its annual legislative conference earlier this month in Washington, D.C. In addition to myself, President and host Pressey and Vice President Davidson attended the conference. In addition to the conference, we also met with our federal delegation and the Federal Transit Administration. And so this is an opportunity now for the attendees to provide a verbal report on their attendance at the conference.
Yeah, Director Davidson, do you have anything that you want to share?
Just wanted to add that it was a wonderful opportunity for us to speak to different congressional staffs, as well as the Federal Transit Administration, and kind of sing the praises of the organization. It's, just speaking personally, it's a joy to be able to brag about Cherriots across the country to important people and people that represent important people. I think the work of Cherriots is phenomenal, and it's really exciting to say as much, and then to have these important people like be surprised and like, oh really, oh tell me more. And it's very gratifying, and I just wanted to extend, I guess, that sentiment to the whole organization, because what Cherriots does, I think, is being noticed by a lot of other people outside of this particular room.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was the best to get to say, we are back to pre-pandemic service levels. And everybody would be like, oh, TriMet's not. And we're like, we know. Okay, and I got that out of my system. General Manager Pollock, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I would. So I'll chuck it into 3 different buckets. The first bucket is actually the legislative conference portion itself. You can see some photos up here. So in addition to the conference, APTA as a whole recognized Representative Earl Blumenauer, who is retiring at the end of this session, who he received a special APTA Congressional Leadership Award, only the second time it's been issued to a member of Congress. And he spoke at the conference, and we also had a chance to catch up with him at the reception, where thanks to our president, we all got little bicycles, his trademark pin, thanks to her
I appreciate
persuasive
that.
technique.
I am very persuasive.
In addition to that, we also recognized outgoing FTA Administrator Nuria Fernandez, and we had the opportunity to network with lots of our colleagues and peers. Margaret Brennan, the Face the Nation anchor, spoke to the group, shared some insights from her perspective. On our legislative visits, we did get to meet with the staff of all of our delegation, both senators and Representative Salinas and Representative Chavez de Remer, as well as the bus and bus facility staffs from the Federal Transit Administration. So that was great. And then in addition to that, we all attended appropriate committees at APTA, from the Board of Directors meeting to the Legislative Steering Committee, the full Legislative Committee. So all in all, I think it was a great opportunity to not only get updated on what's happening at the federal level, because it changes every day, but also we all got to network, meet fellow transit board members and other members of the community. You can see one of the other pictures earlier had a board member from Maine Transit District, yeah, right there.
Yes.
So we got to spend time with Lane Transit folks, TriMet folks, as well as others. So that's all I have to share at this point.
I kept trying to have all of the West Coast sit together. Also, I do want to just point out that picture of Director Davidson, General Manager Pollock, and myself, and you can kind of see Capitol Hill in the distance. I feel like it just looks like we're about to drop the hottest transit rap album of the year. I was thinking maybe Riding Around the Streets in My BEB. Yeah. If anybody gets that reference. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't think I really have anything else to add other than this comedic relief. Okay, and that moves us on to our general manager's report.
Great, thank you. I do have a few items, so you should have at your places your monthly board of directors talking points, and so all of that information is there. I would like to add, last week, I think it was 8 members of Team Cherriots was able to celebrate with Garden Services, celebrate Earth Day, and spent time in their garden, weeding and preparing the Garden Services garden, which was the second year we've done that. You can see pictures up here and our $500,000 check from Representative Salinas, who we had a nice event a couple of days ago, accepting the check from her to help with our South Salem Transit project. Today, you heard earlier, was Take Your Child to Work Day. We had a great festive day, and I'm going to ask our clerk of the board to give us a little update on how that went.
Thank you, General Manager Pollock. So we had a total of 30 kids show today, which is a pretty big crowd. We were very excited. For the first couple hours, they job shadowed their parents or guardians. And at about 10 o'clock, we came down to the Senator hearing room, and they got to get their visitor badges, had their names on them. I think that was the most exciting part for them.
Yeah, I tried to use one to get into the building. It doesn't work.
No, it did not work. They were disappointed with that as well. But while we were here in the Senator hearing room, Bobby did some trivia with them, some Cherriots trivia, and they got to learn a little bit about this room and the board. and they got to look at all of your pictures, and we talked a little bit about you all. Well, you weren't in here, so it's great. After we did that, we did a little tour of the Downtown Transit Center and then hopped on a couple buses and went to Del Webb. They got to go through the bus wash, and they went on a tour through the maintenance shop, which I hear was quite the fun thing because they got to stand underneath a bus while it's very cool. And after that, we had lunch and games, and throughout the day, we had approximately a dozen employees give job chats because we had quite the variety of children this year. I think our youngest was 6 and our oldest was 17. So the older kids got the opportunity to hear from many different people in many different departments about what they do at Cherriots, and it was really great. After that, they got a tour of KTC, and they got to discuss the sustainability, the green roof, and all that great stuff. And then they came back here, and we sent them on their way with their parents. So it was a great time. Thank you.
Great. It looked like it was a fun day, and yeah, I thought the highlight was getting to share what the job of the general manager is. They were captivated by that excitement. But it was fun. They were all having a good time. The parents seemed to have fun. And, so this was the first time back since COVID we've done this. So we've done it for many years. And, yeah, it was great to see the kids have fun. So future Cherriots employees, perhaps. And I just wrap up. So this weekend is the APTA Mobility Conference right here in Oregon. It's going to be held in Portland. TriMet is hosting it. We're hosting the bus rodeo and the conference. So transit people from all over the country, to include Canada and other foreign countries, come compete for the rodeo. So Oregon will be in the spotlight in the transit world over the next 5 days. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you very much. Well, I think it's going to be hard to follow up that report about Bring Your Kid to Work Day, but we'll make our efforts, and I'm going to start with Director Navarro.
Thank you, President. Sorry, is this on? There we go. Thank you, President Hinojosa Presi. So I wanted to mention that the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast is going to be May 2nd at the Kaiser Civic Center at 7 a.m. So for all you early birds that like hearing about what's going on in the city of Kaiser, feel free to join. I believe there's a cover. I want to say it's about $10. But yeah, it's going to be very informational. Also, another breakfast, it's super early in the morning for the Kaiser Fire District. They'll be having their pancake breakfast on the 19th. And that will be
Not on Mother's Day.
Not on Mother's Day. So mothers get their day back this year. And yeah. And that'll be from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Let's see, so the Kaiser Library got a generous grant from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde to be able to hire a bilingual outreach coordinator. So they're still looking for that position if anybody's interested, but that's super awesome, and it's great news for the Kaiser Library because we've been kind of struggling for quite some time. And let's see, and then I had a meeting with a group, a new nonprofit that's opening up in Kaiser called Radness. They're dedicated to creating a more inclusive third spaces for Kaiser's diverse youth. They're going to be located right next to Uptown Music on River Road. They have some really awesome music programs, which I'm personally excited about because that means that my son can jam out with his guitar at somebody else's house. So that's what's been going on in Kaiser, and with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Director Carney?
Thank you, President Hinojosa Presi. Let's see, earlier this week, the SCATS Policy Committee met, and we had just a few action items. It was a blessedly short meeting. We made some tip amendments. 2 were related to transit funded projects. And we reviewed the Unified Planning Work Program, which comes for annual review before the Policy Committee. And due to some ambiguity on whether or not comments were incorporated from different groups, including transit, they are going to spend some time reviewing that and bringing it back to the policy committee in May for adoption, which is not ODOT's preferred timeline, but it is the timeline now. And then tip amendments by staff. There were 14 of them, mostly related to transit. And then finally, and I can't believe that our colleague and friend Beth did not mention this with the Safe Routes to School update that she provided earlier, but we heard an exciting announcement about a bike bus, I think the first ever in Salem, which will take place on May 8th at 9 a.m. at Chavez Elementary.
Stevens Middle School.
Or Stevens Middle School. What I meant to say was Stevens Middle School. And I think, it could be the beginning of some great things here in the city of Salem. I'm a big fan of riding bikes to school. I did. Mine was a long ride growing up. But I can't express my appreciation for Beth enough and the investment she is taking in this program and this community. I see her everywhere. She just seems to have endless energy, and I'd like to borrow some of that. And I did not bring my children to work today, but if I worked for transit, I would have, because this would have been a much cooler place.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, sit here and watch me be on my computer, and then be on my computer some more.
Yeah, I sat in 8 hours of meetings in public hearings in Lebanon today, and that was not gonna fly for a 17. Maybe next year. And our next SCATS Policy Committee meeting will be May 28th, and I think that falls after our board meeting next month, so I won't have a full report, but I'll be able to tell you what's up on the agenda. So, I'll see you then.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add to your report, and the reason why there was the slip of the tongue of Chavez Elementary, is because Beth is literally out there teaching kids to ride bikes. With our PE teachers, and as well as who else are you partnering with?
Oh, Cycle Oregon.
Cycle Oregon, providing bicycles and.
Funded by ODOT for Oregon Safe Routes to School. So it's a nice partnership. We all just get along really well, and kids learn to ride bikes and how to be safe. So it's been a lot of fun. I had a wonderful day yesterday. I was going to tell you about later.
Yeah, they literally bring the trailer just packed full of bicycles, and each kid gets their own helmet, and they get to learn all the parts of the bike, checking it out before you get on it, how to ride it, and some kids have never had the opportunity to ride a bike, and then they get the chance to learn, and they get so excited. And Beth shared a very sweet story where there was a kid that was trying to very gently take off the little label from his helmet so he could remember this fun experience that he had. So now they're also going to be giving out ribbons and whatnot. So, I mean, yeah, Beth has a lot of energy and is out there changing lives as well. So thank you so much. Oh yeah, little claps. Director Duncan.
Thank you so much. Before we totally leave the topic about the bike bus, I wanted to say that the program that you're doing with the bikes, there was a similar but different program and run differently when I was in elementary school. I know that you've heard me say this already, in Salem Kaiser, and it was very impactful to me. And I watched my classmates be able to learn how to ride a bike for the first time. We all got basically like a driver's ed style, crash course on hand signals and safety. And it was incredibly impactful. And I did ride my bike kind of like a car for quite a long period of time into my adolescence. And I only did that because of the confidence I had because of a program like this that taught me how to be safe. And so it is just fabulous to hear kids having accessibility to that. And I just wanted to say, as somebody who was in a similar program here in Salem, it makes me very happy to hear that coming back on a larger scale. And if you have never heard of a bike bus before, there is a TikTok page for the Portland bike bus, which is not us, but is very informational. So fun facts for anybody who might want to learn a little bit more about that. Unfortunately, we did not meet for MWAC in April. We will meet hopefully in May. I know I haven't had a report on that for a minute, but I think we're meeting. I have had an email saying we were actually meeting because we've missed a couple. So I will just move on to our DEI report. We actually met on April 5th, and then we also had a special meeting on April 19th to deal with some art submissions that we had received within a timely manner. So we did a couple of things. We recognize that PART is our initiative, which is the Connecting Cultures, Creating Community initiative, that we want to take the opportunity to use our social media audience or maybe some internal audience options to have culture, to kind of talk about cultural impacts to various communities rather than just promoting specific holidays. So we wanted to kind of talk about acknowledging cultures and building community in a way that was maybe a little bit more robust and educational, that could help kind of expand the knowledge of people in and around Cherriots with just different pieces that they may not be otherwise familiar with of our fellow community members' cultures. And so this could look like, did you know that this is a special day to this community and because, and then provide links to credible resources for social media audience or other to read. And this is a project that we're probably, that we've recommended to pass off to our staff DEI committee as maybe like a first project for them to tackle after they have graduated their program of training and, you know, written their bylaws and such. Because we really want this to be something that's kind of led internally to make sure that it is representative, but also like sensitive to sharing the amount that people want to be shared and spotlighting the people who actually want to be spotlighted. So that was just a very fun thing for us, and I'm really hopeful that that might be a cool resource and building some more community. And then the second piece, we talked about our June bus wrap, which is going to honor immigrant heritage, and we've selected a lovely piece of artwork. And I'm not going to talk more on it because you will have to wait to see it, and I'm very excited about it.
But it is amazing.
It was really good. So thank you to everyone who submitted, and we're excited to continue to grow and expand this program, but we have some really talented people within Cherriots. So, and thank you for sharing your experiences with us through art, just from the bottom of my heart. We have made some connections in the Salem area art community to help with this process and upcoming bus wraps, and we've talked about maybe giving ourselves some more lead time in the future so that this process is a little less rushed. So we have not come to a full conclusion, but some things that we've discussed are, you know, maybe making a call for art one year and then using the art the following year, giving kids time to actually learn about the topic, make some art pieces that we're able to then review and turn into a bus wrap with a little bit more time for creativity and logistics. And so more to come. Thank you for the opportunity to do the work that we do. And on a completely unrelated note, it's Lesbian Week of Visibility. I'm visible, and that is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Director Holmstrom.
Thank you. Last week, like I mentioned earlier, I was able to meet or attend a meeting of the agency's Community Advisory Committee. And like I said, we had a presentation from a gentleman who does the work for MTM, doing the district's ADA, I'm losing it here, but the
Paratransit service.
Paratransit service, the eligibility review. And so that was very interesting. And along with him, we had a woman who works for the district who does a lot of outreach in that area as well, working hand in hand to make sure that folks are able to access the service and whether or not they're disabled or not. And it was very interesting, and the committee, I appreciated that. We also had quite a bit of discussion around the future of the advisory committee, following up on the board's work session earlier this month, and I think they appreciated. I worked together with staff to kind of give an overview of what the board talked about at that work session, and I think they appreciated what we had to say, and we're excited and looking forward to maybe working closely with the board on being able to support and advise. They're an advisory committee to advise the board and provide support to the district and the staff and the board. That's all I have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad that the CAC is excited because I'm excited. Director Laura Midkiff.
Oh, Lord. Thank you. Well, mercifully for y'all, I don't have a lot to say. I know my voice can be a little tiring, but there hasn't been a West Salem Business Association meeting to my knowledge, so I haven't gone to that.
this month. And then I was at a conference in New York for the WSNA, so I missed the Neighborhood Association. But I guess to say something, if anything, we had a lovely time on Tuesday, meeting with Representative Salinas at our prospective site. And I'd like to thank, in particular, Director Holmstrom and Director Davidson for spending an enormous amount of time with me riding the buses. It was a joy getting to know both of you more. And to Director Davidson, he spent like multiple hours with me. We had met that morning and then the afternoon, so bless you. And that's all I have to say.
I think that means y'all are best friends at this point.
Huh?
I think that means you're best friends now.
Something like that.
I'm pretty sure. That's the law. Director Davidson?
We'll be getting matching tattoos later. Thank you for the opportunity to do a little bit of a report out. So I do wanted to, so as was kind of discussed earlier, the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments is convening a Willamette Valley Regional Rail Advisory Committee. And one piece of that, because we did not receive state funding to convene this group, there is a cost associated with it. We are pursuing the COG, the Council of Governments is pursuing a whole bunch of different avenues for funding this, but there may be a possibility that we'll kind of do a pass the hat kind of thing to different governments. And so if that is the ultimate reality, and I don't know what kind of requirements that would be or what kind of asks that would be placed upon the different governments, but what we're looking at right now is a total cost of $75,000 to put together the report that takes a look at governance, capital funding costs, operating funding costs, and some of those other questions that this group is looking at. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that may be an ask that I come to this board with to partially fund a portion of that. You, of course, would not be expected, nor would I ask to fund the bulk of it. I'll be asking multiple different governments to help chip in for that, but I do want to flag that. And then the other thing I wanted to note, speaking of costs, is I wanted to flag for others that in my neck of the woods, the Marion County wrapped up or has published the Corden-Kubler study. And so I would encourage you to take a look at the study. This has been a multi-year process. And they are advocating turning Corden, or they have a preferred alternative to turning Corden in some sections to a significant highway. It'll be a four travel lanes going up and down and then dropping down to 2. But the total cost would be, right now is projected $286 million, which as I think about other things with Kubler in the name of it and costs, I'm reminded of the service that we're launching, which is the Kubler Link Route 22. By my math, that if the funding that is going to be asked for the Corden-Kubler highway expansion were to instead go to something like the Kubler Link, it would fund the Kubler Link for 286 years. So
Wow.
When we think about costs, there are trade-offs, and I would very firmly support funding several centuries of the Kubler Link instead. So that concludes my report.
That is a great way to wrap up our reports. Either spend money to make a big road or fund transit for almost 300 years. I think that's a great way to end tonight's board meeting. It is 6:39 and we are adjourned.